We don't pay these guys to say and do what they do, y'all. These are real life scenarios that we're talking about. So we thank the panel for those true heartfelt stories. So again, if we can get them around the applause. I'm taking directions back. I'm not used to this part. What we want to do now is, you've heard what they said. You heard them talk about the actual CITC training environment as far as that's concerned. You know, the Bible says people perish for lack of knowledge. That's why we do what we do. You know, there's a lot of opportunities that myself and Pastor Razor have been presented with, but what we want, this is why we do what we do. This is it right here. Results like these. And this is not unachievable for you as well. So with that being said, what we want to do is open the floor up. And what I really want to do is get you guys to engage these guys. Ask them those questions that you really want to know. Those things that you won't typically ask. Ask them about us, how we are in the class. Now they gon', well, my part they gonna, but ask them. Get an understanding, because that's the key part is, don't just go to something because somebody else said it. Don't. You need to find out for yourself. And the best way to find out is find out from somebody that's been there, that's been through it. So with that being said, why don't we open up the floor for questions? Yes, ma'am.
What is the time commitment for both the A+ and the CCNA certifications?
Who's been through? Lenard, can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, for me, I'm CCNA certified. I didn't really do the A+. I mean, but when you say time commitment, are you talking in terms of the class itself, or are you talking about at a class?
Both. So I'm talking about the actual class of the weeks and the actual time in class, and then is there any instruction that you need to do, the homework assignments and that kind of thing? So two parts.
Well, with anything, I think anything that you want to achieve, the amount of the class time itself was a 16-week program, from about 8:30 till about 4 o'clock, I'd say. And sometimes that varied depending upon, like, you know, different circumstances. But in terms of out of class time commitments, I think that's varied upon you. And I say that because, I mean, with anything in life, I think, you know, the more time you put in anything, I mean, I think you yield better results. So if you ask me personally, right before I got certified, I made up in my mind that I wanted to commit to this about a couple of hours a day. And, you know, for me, that became, you know, when I was preparing to take the test, knowing how challenging this class was and how, you know, I didn't want to underestimate the difficulty of the test. I mean, for me, it was an everyday thing. You know, some way, somehow find time in my schedule to dedicate a couple of hours, you know, to doing this. And I'd say after I took the class, the year that I got certified, I think I studied and did some other out of class things for about a month or so. And then I just went ahead and took a chance. I just went and I said, hey, you know what? I mean, I want to go ahead and I want to give it a whirl. But like I said, I think that the whole out of class thing, I mean, some people it might take a little longer depending upon, you know, I mean, some people have families or some people might be working extra jobs. I think that's all dependent upon, you know, you and your own kind of personal thing. But for me, I definitely try to put in 2-3 hours of, you know, kind of out of class time a day to prepare me, and I was able to get certified as a result. So,
Mr. Tang, can you talk about the A+ time frame?
Yes. It's Saturdays from 9 to 3. It's about 4 months. It's a 4-month program, and then outside of the Saturdays, you know, probably a couple of hours a week you would need to study your materials. The book that they give you is about 500 pages. Yeah, it's a thick book.
Can you not make your hand so big?
It's a thick book. Yeah, it's a pretty thick manual. It's about 500 pages, so, you know, you can just go through those chapters at home and be ready on Saturday to discuss what you studied during the week.
So both programs, A plus is approximately 4 months of Saturday, 4 Saturdays for 4 months time frame. The CCNA is about the same time frame. Sometimes we may run a little bit extra to cover different content and different things of that sort. And as the panel talked about, what happens outside of the class really depends on your skill set, your aptitude, your background, your experience. But I can tell you this, if nothing happens outside of the class, ain't nothing gonna happen at the interview. That I'm pretty comfortable at telling you. Nothing gonna happen at the certification exam. It's gonna happen, but it ain't gonna be the results you wanted to be. So it definitely takes a commitment in the class as well as out of the class. And that commitment goes beyond just reading the manual, per se, the little manual. It really gets into the point of you studying, you practicing. You're going to be provided software, you're going to be provided different software, different reference material. All of those things are given to you to enhance your experience, not for us, but for you when you leave the class, as well as when you go forward for that interview itself. So did we answer your question, ma'am?
If I could ask, just for clarity.
Sure.
When you talk about outside.
Hold that for a second.
Okay.
I got to give you the microphone.
Okay.
I thought my voice was really loud. So when you say outside the class, are you able to use your own software at home, your computer, or are you given documents and software to upload on your computer to make sure you're able to do the lab work?
Chris, you want to talk about that? Can
Sure.
you respond to that?
For both A plus and CCNA, for the A plus, if I remember correctly, there was some practice software you could go through, and that will keep you up to date with the content. For the CCNA, there's a software that we use it's a lab simulator. You can build your labs and probably also go through some of your questions, because there's a question software program that we use sometimes. You can go through that. So and you put all of that in combination with the book, you pretty much got about 75% of what you're gonna need. I say the other 25% is gonna have to come probably from your own research, because even though the books for both classes do a good job of breaking down what you need to know, you still gotta have that initiative in you to want to go out and get more information, because it's just, in a nutshell, computers and networking is such a big thing. You can't even just put it in one book. You gotta have some drive to say, you know what? Yeah, I got this, but I need to get a little more information. So you gotta, whether you use Wikipedia, Google, YouTube. I use YouTube a lot because there's a lot of tutorials on there that really break down stuff. So.
Good question. Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say something that they didn't that they didn't touch on while they was up there talking. I'm in class with Ed. I have not yet to take my A+ certification test. Not yet. We're going to take it next week. But another thing that I learned about this school is that they're not chasing down grant money. They just not, like when we was in class with Pastor Ed, he wasn't trying to just push us to, Herb take the test, Herb take the test. We both took the test like at the end of December, but he wanted to make sure that we understood this stuff before he pushed us out there into the work world. And like the guy that's back there doing the DJ stuff, he went through the class before, but the door is still open to him. Like he didn't came in and sat on a couple of our classes, dude, right here. He always coming in every other Saturday, every once in a while. Like he able to come back. So if you need a refresher course or if you need some type of help, you got some type of questions about the stuff, you can always come back. Ain't no other school that you could do that. Once you get them that grant money, that's it. You know what I'm saying? You better get it while you can or you're gonna be gone. And that's one thing I liked about the school that's made me come here. 'Cause I'm paying like a student loan that I shouldn't even be paying back.
So that is something that as we talked about, we don't look at this just as an opportunity to, chase someone for their dollars. It's a ministry for us, to be honest. It's a way not only for us to give back, but we expect you to give back. So those people that he's talking about that come back periodically, there's two parts to that. Part of it is, yes, some of them are coming back to get a refresher, to tune up some of the skill sets. They done went on an interview and they heard some term and they're not familiar with ghosting. Well, man, that wasn't covered when we went through it. Or, well, maybe it's something that has evolved and it's changed. And they'll come back to the training and actually get involved and sometimes sit in on that training. But a lot of the people are coming back to give back as well. And we look for that and we appreciate that as well. Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis,
Yes, sir.
I think we spoke earlier. My name is Jackie Coleman, everybody. I used to be a case manager, but I'm unemployed right now. And I guess my question I wanted to ask was, and you guys were talking about payment. Do they take WIA, or how would I be able to pay for the program? You know, I'm not sure. I'm getting unemployment, but that's not covering a whole lot even for my living expenses.
Okay. We, as Pastor Razor talked about in the presentation, we are a WIA certified institution, so we are state approved by the state of Illinois. So that's the number one thing we encourage you to do, is take advantage of those state fundings as WIA, and we'll work with you to go through that process to get you approved for that WIA programming. For those that may not qualify for whatever reason that may be, we work with you on a payment scale, and that scale is based upon certain aspects of your life. So we sit down, we go through a financial interview with you. You'll sit with our HR ladies and the admin staff in the back, and we'll talk about them a little bit later on. But we work with you. That's our goal, is to get access and to get you access with that technology training right here within your communities. Yes.
You know, I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
First, a comment. You know, Mr. Davis, he is a hard taskmaster when it comes to his class. He gives you a lot of information. But I had a question for the panel. A couple of you guys have mentioned that one of the things that you got from taking the class was a vote of confidence when you went on the interviews. Can you talk about specifically what kind of confidence or was it you can attribute to the training? Was it something that you went through, or the actual knowledge, or what was it, if you don't mind?
You know, personal experience. This last interview I had for McGraw-Hill, I had about 20 pages of notes and things I wanted to say in this interview if I got the opportunity. Writing all that down, researching it, I had so much confidence when I went into that interview that I was able to really control the interview, expound on things in length, whereas once I showed them that A+ certification, my A+ card, the interview was basically over. They was like, okay, we're done with this guy. We're ready for the next person to interview. So I wouldn't have had that confidence before. And I really knew what I was talking about. I really understood them. I was amazed when I was just writing all this stuff down, and I say, man, I got 20 notes for this little bitty job, but I wouldn't have had that 2 years ago or 10 months ago. You know, I would have still been trying, well, I know Excel a little bit, a little PowerPoint, and that probably would have been it. But being able to talk about networks, routers, switches, even when I say those words out of my mouth, people's ears go up like, what? You know, and I got that from him, so. You know, something else with me, I had to think outside the box when it came to my resume. I know it's really competitive out there. Someone talked me into doing a qualifications resume where my resume only showed my current qualifications. It didn't have a job there. I got a lot of flack from that. People were saying, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I didn't know how to really answer that, but you know what? That let recruiters wanted to know. So they called me up to say, well, what are you doing now? Where you work? And that got me to get them to give me a call. So actually the qualifications resume sounds crazy and awkward, but I got more calls from people wanting to know, well, where you working? What are you doing? That's when they called me up, that's what they asked me. So it's not a bad idea.
So not only it's not just a technical presentation, a technical lecture, or a technical school. It's a complete experience, and you can hear from the panel the different aspects of it. You know, now we're talking about the different types of resumes, a qualification resume, as opposed to a job representation resume. So those are all components of what the program entails in addition to the technical explanation. Another big thing that I've heard from the panel when they talk about confidence, and I don't remember which panel member said it, but they talked about was the fact from day one, they had to get involved with the equipment. There is no substitute for hands-on. There, in no environment, I don't care what the environment is, there is no substitute for doing a job. You heard the pastor talk about the panel, or actually from his class, in respect to how they actually built a 2008 server environment for the church. Now, for the pastor, that's free labor, right? but for the class, guess what? That's experience. And I promote this throughout the program, and I know Pastor Razor does as well. When you're done with the class, you don't want to put on your resume, I went to school. You don't want to put on your resume, I got A+. What you want to put on your resume is I went to certification training, I got the A+ certification, but I got experience. I built CITC's network 15 times because Felix wouldn't let me go home that night. You know, I built Faith, Hope, and Charity's actual 2008 network experience. I have experience in addition to the certification and the training. And on top of that, I have a network. I have a support system. If I run into issues where I experience problems, I still have a network connection with the CITC staff, and I go back and periodically work with them throughout that process. So that's something that you need to factor into that. I believe we have a question here.
First of all, I want to compliment each one of those people on the stage for your remarkable achievement in completing the A+ and CCNA.
That's all right.
Last year, I had the opportunity to come by the school and sit in for 2 or 3 sessions, and I had the opportunity to work with Chris. I sat under Dr. Felix, and I want to tell you this. I sat in the program last year for 6 months, CCNA, A+, and Net+. I think we looked at a router maybe twice in 6 months. I came here the first day and just to let me sit in, and that whole day, as he, I'm going to reiterate what he said, the program was immensely just challenging to learn all about the CCNA, and the program is just great. One thing that impressed me more than anything else was the solidarity that the people had that I worked with in there. They were very friendly to each other. We had people on all different levels, from beginners to some had some computer experience, and they took the time out to work with each individual. And when somebody was falling behind, they would stop what they were doing to bring that person up to speed. I think this program is very rewarding. The people are just fantastic. This is certainly a godsend. And if anybody gets the opportunity to sit in this program, I think you won't regret it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me ask the panel a question, and anybody feel free to respond. What do you consider what was one of the most challenging components to you actually pursuing the training initially? And how did you get past or overcome that challenge? Whether it was fear or monetary or time or what family, whatever it may be. Lori?
Fear.
Fear?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you
overcome
that fear?
Well, I had to study. I had to devote like an hour or 2 a day was studying. As I stated, that I came from an application background, and I didn't know, although I worked on applications and databases, I didn't know anything about hardware. So this was like a new language to me. So I had to apply, really study, and some of the guys in my class were actually in the CCNA class. They was actually in the field already, and they was coming to get their certification. So I kind of leaned on my classmates also for understanding. So that kind of helped.
For me, I had to silence TV, radio, Facebook, just for 4 months, you know, eat, sleep, sleep, what Felix was giving us every day. Otherwise, I would have been way below average if I didn't do that. So just do those things for that period of time. I mean, literally no television, no radio, no Facebook, no social, and you're gonna do pretty well.
How about you, Mr. Razor?
You know, honestly, for me, it wasn't really too much for me to go ahead and get in this class because, you know, my father was pushing me, just telling me, you know, hey, get in this class, boy. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good motivator right there.
I'm just being realistic, you know. So, you know, and I'm never one to really turn down something new. I think really, for me, the challenge was just, you know, just staying through it because, you know, a lot of times, you know, when things get hard, you know, people like to just kind of dip out or just, you know, say, I don't think it's gonna work. And I think sometimes the hardest thing to do is to learn how to stick it through and just push yourself to work a little harder. And, you know, and that's with anything. And I think that's what I had to do, you know, going through this class. I just, you know, when it did get tough, when Felix started talking in other languages, you know, I just had to, you know, push myself to, you know, learn what he was saying. And like I said, it pays off in the end, and I'm glad that I was able to do that. So, but I like I said, I gotta, you know, give it up to Pops because he was just like, hey, you know, get in this class and go make some money, and you know, it's like cool, sounds good.
He wasn't gonna feed you, no.
Right, you know.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Just a minute. Let me get you the microphone.
My question is, will you recommend these classes for someone who has no computer background whatsoever?
For the panel?
I would say yes because it helps if you have a computer background. Like myself, I had a computer background coming into the program, so even though if you don't have a computer background, though, if you study and the staff is real helpful, they make you feel comfortable learning the material. Even, you know, if you can get together with your classmates, you can start a study group with your classmates, and if you read the material, it'll come to you. You know, if you're motivated to learn the material, I think you'll learn it.
I just want to add something. It's like a shortage of women in IT, so it's a big plus. It's a shortage of women. It's a big plus. I've always been the only woman in working with the guys. I always work with guys. So when they see a woman, not to take anything away from the men, but when they see a woman with an A+ certification and some computer skills, they're gonna grab hold to you.
Someone on the panel earlier mentioned that the networking environment, when you hear the word computer, nowadays that can almost mean anything. How many of you have cell phones? Guess what? That means every one of you have some skills, some computer skills. It's a matter of learning what skills you have, lining them up with the appropriate environment, and then pursuing that. The A+ certification is a diverse certification that deals with computer repair, but Pastor Razor has done an excellent job at designing and modifying that content on an ongoing basis. I mean, we work at, matter of fact, we are cube mates at work. And, well, this is being taped, I can't say. So, he does an excellent job at critiquing and modifying that content to make it relative to the world today. So I would tell you that absolutely it's going to take additional effort and additional work ethic from an individual that may not have that background and that experience. But that certification, that training program is strategically designed for that purpose, to take someone who, as we talked about, and you've heard the various comments here from the audience as well as the panel, it's a network, it's a group effort. So there will be someone with experience in the program, and there will be someone with zero experience in the program. And that's a key component, is learn, because when you go to work, guess what? Everybody don't have the exact same skill sets. we learn to work as a function as a team. That's part of the design itself. We set up group efforts where you have to work in a team environment so that we learn how to work together and play together as well. So I would tell you, absolutely, yes, ma'am. I think we had two more questions, one here, one in the back as well.
Can I say something too?
Sure, I'm sorry.
That's why we have the 2 classes on that, just on that question. The A+ it's an entry-level certification. So if someone with no experience, that's where they want to be. We had to learn that. When we first started, we said everybody's going to do CCNA. Well, CCNA was Cisco's entry level, but that's not the industry's entry level. And so we put everybody, the first couple of classes, we only had CCNA, and it hit us. Hey, you know, with people come in with no computer skills. I mean, I've had people in class that don't even know how to operate a mouse. But the A+ is for that. It builds them from nothing to that point. That's why we elongated it, took it so long, and that's why we put in so much advanced stuff at the end. So not only do they go from nothing to A+, but then they go that to really job skills. So I would say you don't want a person with no computer skills to go to the CCNA class, because it'll wipe them out. And we had to learn that, because we first started out saying we're gonna make everybody CCNA. Why? Because CCNA people make $70,000, $80,000 a year. You know, well, but you can go A+ and make 40 or 50. You can go A+ and make 40 or 50 to get you in there, and then as you get skills, you go back to go to CCNA. So I would say definitely the A+ for someone who has no skill. We definitely take it. Leonard talked about him. I made Amber take the class. Why? Because I'm not gonna be feeding grown children. You know, I made her come into the class. She said that, and I made her, so I know, make sure she got those skills. I made her go through this class. She didn't want to. She would come in every morning, but Amber is my daughter. She come in every morning with her lip poked out. That's okay. She was there. And she knows a lot about networking and computing now because she did that. And I noticed one thing, that she had a notepad in addition to the books, so she kept the notes. Even though she's still in school and she's in nursing, I just want to have a safety net in case you don't finish this up, you're going to definitely do this. So I mean, look, it works. It works.
Thank you, Pastor Reyes. That's a very good point. Felix Jr. has been through the program as well, just for the record. And he's in Lakewood Community College in a program for firemen. And when we look at that, I'm kind of in that same boat. He eat a lot now at that older age, so we want to tighten those things up. And my youngest, Sean, he's slated for the summer class if I squeeze one in. So, and he's a junior in high school. So I would tell you, absolutely, it's strategically done that way. Now, and one real quick comment, because we want to be conscious of your time as well, is that Cisco recognizes this, because CCNA was considered Cisco's entry-level certification. Cisco recognized this so much, the power and capability of a Cisco CCNA certified technician, that they came back and said, you know what, this is not an entry-level certification. They actually created another certification, and it's been identified as CCENT at this point. And now that has been labeled as their entry-level certification, thereby bumping the CCNA certification to a new level. So not only are we saying this, the industry is recognizing that as well. So A+ is kind of our entry-level stepping stone for those from 0 to minimal experience. And then we sit down and we interview each candidate, actually. And we help you strategically position yourself for the appropriate program. So I think we got a couple more questions. Yes, sir.
This question is for the CCNA candidates up there. Or which portion of the CCNA would you think for yourself was the most challenging? The subnetting, the EIGRP, the OSPF, or BGP, or BGP?
All of the above.
D. Who said that, though?
what's the most challenging? I mean, if you want to kind of get technically kind of, deep into it, for me, I'm a numbers guy. I've always been a math, so you find that I think majority, and maybe some of the other people who've been through the CCNA can tell you, I think majority of people, as soon as they see some numbers and some arithmetic, they just get a chill in their bones anyway. I was a little bit different, I'm always, I'm kind of like a, hands-on kind of just, show me type of guy. I hate reading, let me just say that, So really, it was just for me personally, it was, like I said, if you want to kind of get technically in depth, it was things like network address translation, access lists, a little bit later on, things like IPv6. And it was just because for me, it was just things that required a little additional just kind of reading and just, some extra comprehension just to understand what the principles and all the theoretical concepts are. With that being said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's nothing that, that you wouldn't be able to learn. Because like I said, I was able to learn it, and I got CCNA certified because of it. And but like I said, I think most people up here will probably tell you that, the subnetting, because you have to, kind of get involved with some arithmetic and some crazy numbers and numerical things, which, to each his own. But, like he was just saying, the CCNA is definitely, I think, a little more challenging course just because of what it entails and the types of things that you learn are a little bit more hierarchical, I think, than just, the A+, which is considered the entry level. So overall, it's a more intricate certification level. But with that being said, I got certified, and I believe that anybody here, as long as you put your mind to it and do what you got to do, get certified as well.
I say going into it, I kind of what Leonard is saying. When you first see the numbers, if you're not a numbers person, you're gonna probably say subnetting. Okay, let's just get past that. If we can just skip this part, we'll be okay. But you can't skip it. You got to do it. It's tough. But I say looking back, it was tough for me at one point too. But looking back, it's not so bad now. I'll say now more than anything is maybe access lists sometimes. But even those sometimes, I guess it's kind of hard to say it once you kind of get over the hump of going through the struggle of trying to understand it. But yeah, in the beginning phases, access lists, that kicked my butt. I didn't know what the heck to do with those things. I was always messing them up, and I never, in layman's terms, you want to make one thing not be able to talk to another thing, and they always talked, and I didn't know why. So so I say maybe subnetting, access lists, maybe some of the routing protocols, just understanding the differences and what they do. But some time has passed now, and then you look back and it's not that difficult. And if it does get challenging, you just pick up a book and get a better understanding and move past it. So.
See, they said I spoke another language. They talking that, access this. Now they speaking a new language, so it works.
That's true.
You got a follow-up question?
That's good. Thank you. Thank you, both of you guys.
Yeah.
Do we have another question?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your attendance policy? Because I know that you mentioned that it's every Saturday for 4 months. So is there makeup sessions? Are there, I see some heads. Oh.
I think I'll let the panel answer that question.
Can I say something? If you only meet once a week and you miss a week, you learn so much in one day. It's impossible to me almost to, like, if you don't have any experience, especially to come back week 3 after you miss that second week and then try to just pick up. You got to be an extraordinary person in terms of having some great time management to understand and learn on your own. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I highly advise anybody considering taking the CCNA, do not miss. We'll put it like this. From the people, a lot of times, from my experience, the people I've seen miss, they drop out. That's how challenging it is. It's not a game. I mean, I can't even water it down. It's tough. So if you miss and you come back and you start feeling discouraged, yeah, everybody's gonna try to work with you and try to get you back on track, but it's still gonna be that part of you that's gonna say, what the heck, why the heck did I miss? I feel so far behind. Then you start feeling, defeated, so don't miss.
Yeah, because Felix is going to assign you some things to do that next week you're not going to do them again. So you want to be there. Because it's going to tie in to something that's going to next week, and what he did 3 weeks ago is going to tie in to the 5th week. So
can I say something? With that being said, I'm gonna score some cool points. There is no attendance policy. I mean, you're responsible for what you learn while you're here, if you're here, when you're here. So there's really no attendance policy. But at the same time, I think part of what makes these two individuals just so kind of easy to get in tune with, and just people that we can respect and look up to, is that they will find some sort of way if you do miss, especially if it's not just because you just goofing around, but there's some sort of thing going on. They do find time in their busy schedules to give us windows of additional time outside of just traditional class time. My father has been here during the week many times to open up the doors for people who might have missed a week, or who might need to reiterate some stuff that they just didn't understand. And Felix does the same thing. I'll call Felix up in a minute. It'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning, and hopefully his wife is asleep so he ain't getting in trouble. I know about that. But these guys are available, and this is outside of just traditional every Saturday for 16 weeks, and that's that goes on that list of things that you just won't get elsewhere. So even though there is an attendance policy, and you should try to be as much as you can, they in the past have been very flexible, and we students of this class have been very appreciative of that, because we've all, I'm pretty sure in some way, shape, or form, have taken advantage and been able to get some extra time outside of class to kind of further enhance things that we might not understand and things like that. So can we just give a hand to these individuals?
I have something.
When Leonard took the class, I mean, really, he was in his 3rd year at College of Music. That's when I said, wait a minute, let me teach him this right. So he didn't have an attendance policy. But everybody else signs an attendance policy that requires 75% attendance. He took the class initially in the basement of my house. him and got Phil Patterson, because I said, let me teach him before he gets out of college, because he's a musician, and CCNA is a lot more stable than musician would. I didn't know. People go to school for the arts, and I always see them home with their so he didn't have an attendance policy, right? But yes, we do have an attendance policy. When people come, but now he's right. They call us all the time. We work. If you miss just because you had a reason to miss it, it was legitimate. We work something out. We put together, because we understand. As a matter of fact, we try to do it so that on Saturdays there's 3 Saturdays and a Saturday off each month, so you don't manipulate. And we understand people have things to do. That's why we typically go from 4 months on Saturday. Sometimes we end up going an extra month, because we give a week off each Saturday so that people can do things. We understand that. But Chris is right too. You don't want to miss, because although I do this, and Mr. Davis does this, we come down and open up. It's not the greatest thing. My wife, it doesn't endear me to my wife when I come down here on Wednesday night or Tuesday, because Tuesday I got Bible, so Monday night is supposed to be my night of studying and getting ready for my next week of church. But sometimes I'm down here opening up, then on Wednesday sometimes, and then on Friday. And Leonard and Chris have been good, because they'll come down sometime during their off time, and they'll open up and work with people too. So, but you don't want to miss, because we cover a lot of things. We cover a whole lot of stuff when you miss. But we make allotments, and we have to set an attendance policy, because in order for us to be approved, they needed to know that we had an attendance policy, and we do have an attendance policy basement, so he was 100%. The class was in my basement, he was 100% attentive.
I was trying to give you some cool points, man.
In addition to the things you've heard, we've gone as far as we've conducted online sessions. We've taken advantage. Some of these people are very skilled with other technologies, Skype and different things like that. And I've personally seen some of these individuals take the lead within their own classes and conduct sessions. Okay, I was in class and I actually understood it. Well, I know John Doe, I'll leave him nameless, right? I know John Doe was not able to attend class. So on Wednesday night, we gonna get together and have an online study session. Now, what they didn't know was I had coordinated with them. I would be in the session, just be real quiet and just listen. That way I get to hear the student reteaching what they learned in class, and you also get to hear the student that was not available to see how they interact and change. So we definitely have a way, but we try not to do that on a regular basis because, as someone alluded to on the panel, everything is interconnected. This is not a book that's got 10 different chapters and you can, pass each chapter and get through the program. They're all interrelated. So if I don't understand the foundational points of 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6 is going to be a challenge. It's going to be rough. So we try to make that exception to work with individuals. Things happen, and we try to manage those situations. But you need to be here. I think we'll take a couple more questions because we want to be conscious of your time. And I know Pastor Ray has a couple more slides, and then we're going to wrap up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was curious as to listening to the panel. You could tell that there is a new language that people coming in is going to have to learn. And I was curious as to how much of that is going to be book comprehension versus kind of picking up hands-on experience inside of the classroom. If you can probably tell me what the percentage is. And I came in a little late, so I'm not sure when this starts because I thought her question was important because it would depend for some people when the start date is.
Okay. I'm gonna take this if that's okay. It's 100% both ways. Its comprehension is essential, but the hands-on application is just as essential. So the language that you're hearing the people talk when they talk about network address translation or ACLs or EIGRP, that's the language of this industry. And I'm speaking from the CCNA perspective. We can address the A+ as well. You heard someone say that he already been on a job replacing the hard drives and the motherboards and the memory and those different type of things. Well, that's the intellectual component process of it. I need to know and understand what those things are. But equally important is knowing the application of it. And that's the part that differentiates these individuals when they go on those interviews. In the A+ training, when they talk about AD, we say AD. Well, that's an acronym, or Active Directory. Well, now they need to understand, well, what is Active Directory? Why do we have it? How does it work? But then that's where they go to the next level of it, where Pastor Razor has updated the content material. Now, this isn't even part of A+ certification training per se. So if you go anywhere, well, I don't want to say anywhere, most places, put it this way, part of my job in the corporate America environment, part of my responsibility was auditing institutions that offered this type of training. And I have yet to find an institution that offers A+ training where they actually teach you and